Hello, everybody. Today we are discussing the 2021 television show, ABC show, Abbott Elementary. You know, Abbott Elementary that stars Quinta Brunson, created by Quinta Brunson. And she's the lead actress here, and she plays a teacher in I would say K through middle school show. And you know Quinta, you know her.
Do
She's
we?
that overachieving. Jake messed up my whole intro, but anyway, not literally. She's
I was
that over.
like, I was bought in.
She is that overachieving student in your class who always goes beyond what the teacher asks. So that kid in your class decides to one day become a teacher, and this first year teacher gives it everything. She wants to start a GoFund, not a GoFundMe, but that teacher request, that site where you ask for funds. Instead of doing that, she starts her own Instagram page to get funding for supplies for her class. I want to talk about that Instagram page right now. But before I go on, I want to say, what a show. People, this is a good show. And I want to give props to some of the stars, some of the actors. Tyler James Williams, who plays the sub, he plays it with this combination of humility and sly humor that is just perfect for that role. Janelle James plays Ava, the administrator. And people, there's no cliche there. She plays it just for laughs. And there's a sort of competence slash incompetence to her character. And of course, Chris Perfetti plays Jacob, middle school teacher. He's woke. He's a nerd. He's a fish out of water. He's funny as can be. And as you look at Quinta Brunson, who, as I mentioned, is the head writer. She's created this show. You look at her and you think she must have taught before. She just knows too much. But no, she has never taught. She had her mother was a kindergarten teacher, and she watched how her mother dealt with her students. And a particular day when she stepped into the parent conference, and her mother sat there all day without one single parent from 12 to 8 p.m. And at 7:58 p.m., one parent shows up. And her mother did not grow impatient. She was excited to see this parent. Taught Quinta Brunson a lot. And I want to, before I ask what you think of this, Jacob, I want to say that Wish List episode 3 is excellent. And there's a moment where they talk about the walls. What's on your wall? Haven't we had this discussion as teachers before? Right? What should be on your wall? And the sub just says, I'm a sub. I'm a long-term sub. What do I care what I put on the walls? And there's a moment where he finally puts these office
Artwork.
Office Max inspirational posters on the wall. And it's real cheesy, these little inspirational quotes. And you feel the tension between these two characters. And at one point she says, this looks like you got this from an office supply store. And their office supply bags are on the ground, and he kicks them under the desk so she doesn't see them. It's one of many good moments. And that same episode, she creates an Instagram story, Quinta Brunson, as a teacher superhero so she could get funding to improve her classroom. And it's so funny, her Instagram story. And you just really relate to this teacher who goes all out to impact her students, to influence her fellow teachers. This show is excellent, and I recommend it.
Oh, I'm so glad you share that, Ruben. I was hoping you liked it, and I guess I knew you would, because it's so well done. It is like the mock documentary type of style. At the same time, and I think you might agree with me, Ruben, so many times I'm watching it and I'm like, this is real. Even though it's put out there for the laughs, you're like, yeah, it's funny, but that's real. those are funny situations, but those are situations that happen regarding fighting over the food in the refrigerator, right? And sometimes, you're competing with other teachers without saying you're competing with them. Even that relationship with that principal you mentioned, it is made for the laughs. And so I think sometimes teachers think that the principal is sitting there playing with bubble wrap or, doing, coloring books or things like that. And of course, the reality is they're not doing that, but they like to play on that. And so, yes, every one of
Well,
these actors go ahead.
I just want to make clear what you meant about the bubble wrap. There's a scene where the admin is in her office,
Right.
and requests the teacher to come, Quinta Brunson, to come to her office, and she's popping bubble wrap, the admin, just wasting time.
Right. And I think that's the whole point, is that, hey, that really doesn't happen, but they're playing with it. And I think sometimes teachers think that, but that's not the reality. But most scenes, though, you're like, oh yeah, I see that, especially if you're a teacher. And I know I teach high school, but I think it still works because a lot of the things that these teachers go through, we as high school teachers do, regarding dealing with parents, dealing with our colleagues. And one of my favorite scenes, before I go on, I do have to share what you did just right now, Ruben, is that I did enjoy this show. But there was an episode regarding technology, and that we that these, the older teachers and younger teachers are at different places, and it scares the bejeebies out of the older teachers. That it was this new program. I think it's like a tablet they had to do grades and to do lessons. I didn't understand the whole concept of that actual tablet, but definitely was to make their jobs easier in the classroom. And the older teachers were having a tough time with it. And one specific one, and she was trying to just figure it out, but she was a little prideful to let a younger teacher know that, hey, I'm having trouble with this. And it brought me back, Ruben, back into the mid-90s, when I went to a conference with some older teachers, and they were struggling with Word when Word came out, and Excel and the whole Microsoft Office, and they were just like, what is going on here? We can't get this. And funny, it just happens. There's different generations where new things come out, new technology comes out, and how do the teachers respond to it? And sometimes the technology isn't always the best for the teachers, and it shows that eventually they just threw out that technology because it didn't even there were some problems with it, right? And so, yeah, I think this is a real deal. I enjoyed it because it seemed like it was something I could go into a school and see a lot of these things that were happening. These teachers spending their own money on rugs or on equipment. And I think that's why this show does well. It's because of the realism in it and the relationships between the teachers. I think that's why people like it.
I'm a little uncomfortable with the word realism, only because it might have realism is connected to this idea of intense, The Wire. That's realism, right? But it's a comedy.
Real, I should say, yeah.
It is a comedy, and
it is
for laughs. And I do want to also mention that we're covering the first 5 episodes, so we haven't seen into season 2 yet. But if you look at Quinta Brunson and her little history, I mentioned that she was never a teacher. She was just a young lady growing up who was obsessed, this is her words, obsessed with comedy. And she wanted to get into Saturday Night Live. She came to LA and was poor because all she was doing is doing sketch comedy and working jokes. So I find it fascinating that a lot of teachers can relate to this show when it's played to laughs. And if you think about some of the movies we've seen, I mean, you might disagree with some of the movies because you like a lot of them, but
I like a lot of them.
Some of the movies that we've seen feel like they were intended as real, and they're not. Where this show is intended to be funny, and yet we see the truth behind it.
Oh yeah,
I
agree with you. No, I totally agree with you. I mean, even everything's played for laughs, like you shared, and even how the students, the students interact with the teachers. That's one thing I really respected about the show, is that you see the teachers really humanize the kids. I don't say they don't talk down to them because they're younger kids, but they definitely respect the children and who they are. And they love it never comes out like, oh, I hate teaching, I'm doing this. None of them hate teaching. They all enjoy doing it.
There's a joy of teaching. There's a joy of teaching, but I do want to emphasize that there's great bits here.
Oh yeah.
Yes, we walk away feeling, wow, they got teaching right at some respects, but there's some great bits. think
Hilarious.
about this. Think about this Chris Perfity, playing Jake, playing a character named Jake or Jacob, who gets roasted by his middle
Okay.
school kids because they keep roasting me. And the substitute teacher says, roast them back. And they get into this roast battle, and which is what they just destroy him, his kids, and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Now, when you watch that, people who aren't into teaching will love it. But teachers will love it because you walk away and you think, this is a first year, although he's not a first year teacher, he's a second year teacher who's trying to relate to his kids, so he decides to roast with them. That's the lesson here where you walk away and you think, wow, there's some truth to that.
Sure.
I also want to mention the fifth episode is on they deal with this real bad kid, this poorly behaved child. So whenever you have a poorly behaved student, what do? Well, you don't take on the dragon alone. And in the story, again, Quinta Brunson is you just want to sit down with her and just pick her brain, like, how does she know? How does she understand some of these concepts? But there's another writer that helps her, but she gets help. It becomes a team. They try to figure this girl out, and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Her acting out is funny. This little kid, they got a good little actress to play this terror.
Oh yeah. And she didn't look like a terror. She looked like this wonderful, loving little kid, and she was terrorizing him. But I like that though, Ruben. You're right though, because it says, hey, you know what? We can work as a team. But also these kids, sometimes kids, and it's a good lesson for us as teachers. Sometimes kids, even when they act out, sometimes it's because they're bored and they want to be challenged, and they figure that out. And so those things come out of these episodes, lessons they learn, and they say, okay, you know what? Let's help this kid. Let's take him. Let's send her to another school where she could get the help she needs. And yeah. So I think that was cool.
I don't think they sent her to another school. They sent her to another grade.
Oh, I thought they sent her to another school. It was another grade in that same school. Okay, so they bumped her up then.
I think that might be illegal to kick a kid out. Well,
no, not kick out, just to help them out.
Like, I guess not illegal,
but program. But
no, in a way,
but that still works.
Yeah, I think they sent her up. They skipped her, so she was.
I misunderstood that, but still, they saw that. Hey, we're not going to keep her here. We're going to help her out, and we'll send her to another, like you said, another grade that will assist her, and she could be challenged. And I think that's something that, like, as a young teacher, you can look at that and say, wow. How are my kids doing? Do I have students like that? And how can I work with them? So you can learn. I mean, this is definitely a program where you can learn. But you're right, though, Ruben. I think a lot of times you're just going to laugh. You're going to have a good time. You're going to see, the principal is just so hilarious. And she just has these, she talks like, street talk, and she's supposed to be this professional. But she's wonderful. I think actually all the actors do a great job. And they're worth watching.
I get afraid that when we discuss this as a true to life, that people will be scared away, like, oh, this is good medicine. And it's not like that. It is a comedy that plays for laughs, and it's got nominated for a bunch of awards.
Right. But can't we say though, Ruben? I disagree a little bit. I think we could say it's both. It to combine. I think it's real life and it's comedy.
I know that, but when it's something about when we tell people, hey, you should watch this. This is true to life. That they're gonna think, oh well,
with a comedic spin.
It's one of those that tells that I need to take my medicine, But it's funny. It's funny to walk away with something, but it's just my take.
All right, yeah. Either way, I think we both what we're saying is, hey, watch this show. This is a wonderful show, and you're gonna definitely laugh and have a good time with it.
Yeah. By the way, it's called a mockumentary, and at first I got visions of Chalk, the movie Chalk, which is a pure mockumentary. It's a way better version of Chalk. It doesn't totally feel that way to me, though. I'm not sure if I buy that it's a mockumentary. To me, it just feels like a comedy.
Okay.
It has elements of mockumentary in it, but anyway, tell me what you think, everybody. We hope you enjoy it, and thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.